Oh, I'm not a crook. That, for those who don't know, is my Dick Nixon impersonation. I don't quite do it as well as Warrior Word does, but nevertheless, that is my impersonation of Richard Nixon. Anyhow, what is going on, everyone? Wanted to do a quick rap rant. Um, excuse me. I clear my throat here. Yeah, I want to do a quick rap rant on the whole trade war, the U.S. and China trade war. It's currently being waged against these two rival countries. I don't know if you want to say rival countries. Maybe that's not the right word to use, but these two economic powerhouses. China is the second largest economy in the world. Will probably surpass the United States. I actually read something interesting. I think by 2050, I'm not sure if it's the World Bank that predicted this. I don't remember the source of the article. I have to go back and look at this. But doing some research on trade wars and economic growth, I came across an article. They're just googling stuff that shows that the top economies, and this is solely based on a lot of it. The driver is really population growth. The Hey, what's up, J Street? The largest economies by 2050 are going to be China number one, Brazil number two, India number three, U.S. at number four. So, but a lot of it's fueled by the population growth that's happening in those countries. Their population is growing much faster than that of the United States, where we're seeing much slower population growth. So, you could probably think about how population impacts economic growth. If you think about more people, what that means in terms of spending, needs, infrastructure, things of that nature. But I'm not going to get into that because that's a whole nother conversation. But I do want to discuss the potential impact of the trade war. It's interesting. I haven't really been following much of the trade war stuff with China just because I haven't. I should say completely ignored it, but I have been following it somewhat, more as it relates to the stock market, because I do own stocks, and just kind of want to kind of keep an eye on the market and see how the market's impacted. Um, and it's interesting. I was thumbing through some gaming articles yesterday, and I came across an article regarding how the trade war with China could potentially impact the increased tariffs on imports from China could impact the gaming industry. And I'm like, what? Never crossed my mind, never thought about it, never thought that, hey, this could have an impact on gamers, the gaming industry, um, and not just the gaming industry. There's another article that just came out recently, I think today, where the impact um, may impact the tabletop gaming industry as well. So if you're not familiar with tabletop games, they're the board games, card games, RPGs. The dice, the D&D games, Dungeons and Dragons, things like that. Um, and I'll get into the impact there. So, but Apple's potentially going to be impacted by this as well, with the production of their iPhone XR phones that are made in China. Apple, from my understanding, is sending lobbyists to Washington D.C. to lobby against this. Matt Piscatella from NPD has commented on this as well. Matt is the U.S. video game analyst for NPD. I believe Matt, he made a comment. If you follow him, by the way, you guys should give him a follow if you're interested in getting up to speed with some of the gaming related trends in the U.S. But Matt kind of Matt, actually, is Matt who brought Matt's tweet of this article by Gaming Industry Biz is what actually caught my attention, where Matt says, Matt doesn't agree with, uh, the idea of imposing a 25% tariff on game consoles, which could potentially happen. Now, for those you don't know, um, Microsoft, the Xbox One, Consoles are manufactured by Foxtron and Flextronics. Those companies are in China. That's where these consoles are manufactured. The PlayStation is manufactured there as well, and the Nintendo Switch, I believe, is manufactured by the same company as well. They're like one of the largest manufacturers of, I think, like electronic goods or something like that. I could something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing here, but they're one of the larger manufacturers for electronic devices or something like that. So, um, anyhow, and I asked Matt, what he thought, you know, um, what the impact of this could be, and he's saying that it's yeah, it is a little early. It's early to speculate on the impact, but he thinks that perhaps the manufacturers might likely absorb the costs in the short term to maintain price. But if this thing goes on longer, um, we may see an impact and less price promotions. But if things escalate and they extend, um, then we could see that the cost would be passed off to the consumer, and that's typically what happens. I mean, look, trade wars, and it's funny. Look, if you support the Donald, if you're a if you're a MAGA person, if rock with Trump, that's fine. It's your business, whatever. You know, I'm not going to agree with the president or and many of his policies. I don't particularly care for his behavior as a president. I don't think he's very presidential. But that's a whole nother discussion. And I am by the way, I am people don't believe me when I say this, but I am a registered Republican, but I don't support this president. And there's a lot of Republicans like me that don't support this president because we believe that his values don't really exude the real values of conservatism and whatnot. So, um, Jamie Forte says Trump trying to overprice our hobby. So the bottom line with trade wars, and this is what I read from many economists, nobody wins in trade wars. It actually has an impact on uh, manufacturing efficiencies, and the biggest impact is to the consumer. So trade wars don't benefit any side in the long run. Now, what's interesting is, and it's funny, like I brought this up on Twitter, and of course you had Trump supporters say, "Oh no, that's not true." I had one guy say, "Oh well, the Xbox is not it's not produced in China; it's manufactured there." I'm like, dude, that's the same thing. It's a production plant. It's where these consoles are made. And it's just amazing, like the lack of knowledge or information that some of these guys have. Um, yes, Mr. Kima said U.S. farmers are being impacted by the trade business by the trade war. That is true. Um, the Almighty, I'm not going to repeat that. The Almighty Spartan God, but uh, so it's interesting. A lot of the Trump supporters that responded to my tweet about the potential impact on the video game consumer is that, oh well, Microsoft makes, they make Xboxes in Brazil, or they have plants in South America. Yes, but Microsoft owns these plants. Um, it is not they're not manufacturing Xbox ones there. Again, if you're not aware of the fact that the Xbox One is manufactured by Flextronics and Foxconn, again, these companies, people, are in China. That's where the Xbox is made. Little fun fact: the first Xbox, the original Xbox, was actually made in Mexico. And then starting with the Xbox 360, they moved to China. Now, I even had one Trump supporter say to me, "Oh, well, the Xbox, this is the first time the Xbox console has ever been manufactured in China. The 360 wasn't manufactured in China. No, it was actually manufactured in China. It was the first Xbox console to be manufactured in China, as was the PlayStation 3 for Sony's PlayStation brand. Now, Again, I don't know where these guys get this information from, but I put out this challenge and I said to them, I said, you know what? If you're a gamer, let's put politics aside. You're a consumer. Let's put politics aside here. You love this hobby, you value this hobby. Why not why not speak out against this? If you're a truly passionate gamer and you love this hobby and you want to see the best for the industry, you don't want to see anything done directly to the industry that could impact us as consumers in a negative way, which a 25% increase in tariff increase on gaming consoles could. This could happen. It could have a negative impact on us. And we're not just talking about current consoles, guys. Let's think about the next generation of consoles as well. Or potentially, we were looking at an increase in price of what presumably are going to be very expensive game consoles when they launch anyway. The rumor of the Anaconda Xbox being $600, PlayStation 5 coming out at 500. Think about what that means in terms of, you know, the potential. Yes, DL Money's Market said they can assemble consoles in Mexico. They can, but they are more money to do so. So again, now you're looking at another situation where you're looking at increased cost, which the companies are going to pass on to. The companies are going to pass those costs on to the consumer. They always do, because they're very bottom line sensitive, especially these publicly traded companies. And so, and so this again, a direct negative impact to us as consumers. But my challenge to a lot of these Trump supporters was, hey, if you truly love the gaming industry, and I was trolling them a little bit. Gaming Forte says, "Good for you, $125 in sales tax on a $500 system." um, but I was kind of, poking the bear a little bit with some of my comments, just having fun. Um, Chief Tomei there. Chief Tomei says there's positives that come with tariffs, right? It's not all that. It's not all negative. When there's a trade war involved, it's very negative, Chief, and that's what we're in the middle of now, a trade war. And you read any economist, most economists will agree that trade wars benefit no one, and they don't. Everything from what I've read states that they don't benefit anyone. Um, you know, and that's not to say, look, guys, I know that people say, well, what about China manipulating their currency? Yeah, they've done shitty things like that. They have. And those things should be addressed. I'm not disagreeing with those things. I just don't agree with a trade war being a way to address those things and trying to hardball the second largest economy into giving into our thoughts and what we want. Slow Mo's right. Slow Mo backs up. What's up, man? What's up, Slow Mo? Slow motion for me. Let me stop. Slow Mo says they couldn't build the consoles in Mexico right away. Anyway, yeah, I mean, yeah, there's certainly from a logistics standpoint, it's not a matter of turning on the light switch and say, all right, let's get going. I mean, there's things that go behind that that need to happen before they can get uh, the consoles moving and made. Um, Game versus trade wars happen all the time. It's the first time it's impacted the industry we love. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been historically there's been trade wars in the past. Um, Slow Mo says you got to find a company to do it for you, and you need to hire workers and build a facility to get that done efficiently. Foxconn isn't in Mexico. Right. So, yeah, that's a great point, Slow Mo. Oh, Gaming Forte says I didn't get that type of intro. I don't, Forte man. I don't have an intro for you, man. I'm sorry. I see Slow Mo, and I think that's that song by Juvenile, Slow Motion. I think it's called. I don't know. Sorry, man. I got mad love for you, Forte. Um, so I said to them, I said, you could put politics aside. You could still support Trump, but not support this particular policy that may have a negative impact on the gaming community or gamers. So, and I think that's important. I think that often people are so dogmatic in their points of views that they're willing to take a bullet to the head or cut off their nose to spite their face to support whatever politician they choose to support, which to me, I just don't understand. I've never understood that. You know, even with the previous president, with President Obama, there was things that agreed that he did, and there was other things I didn't agree with. Same thing with George Bush. So it just that's just not how I think. I don't operate that way. But it's interesting. Some of the feedback I got from Trump supporters was, "Hey, you know what? I'd rather pay more money on game consoles and protect the future, the American future, for my children." And I'm thinking to myself, well, how is a trade war, or how is paying more for a game console going to protect your children or give them some kind of better future? Here's what I think. My 2 cents on children in the future. And I think there's a lot of fear mongering in this country that gets people freaked out, and I say to my friends this one thing: if you want your children to be successful, instill in them the value of education and the value of hard work and the value of money management. Those are things that are very important skill sets to have, and you can work hard, but it isn't just hard work that's going to get you to achieve things. It's planning, it's figuring out what you're passionate about, it's money management, and it's education. Those are probably the most important things. Um, Chief Tommy says, "Getting our jobs back." That's it. Chief, playing the devil's advocate here. No, Chief, I hear that argument, like getting our jobs back. In the short term, there may be some manufacturing jobs that do come back, but here's the biggest misconception with manufacturing, and the one thing that really surprised me when this particular president was running for office. He was saying he was going to bring all the manufacturing jobs that we lost overseas, when in fact that's not actually true. Majority of the manufacturing jobs that were lost to advances in technology, meaning that people were replaced by robots, and that's pretty much what happened. It doesn't have anything to do with uh, the majority of it doesn't have to do with manufacturing jobs, leaving, um, to go overseas for cheap labor. That's a misconception. That's actually not true. And so it's funny, like, and I'm not trying to get too political here, guys, but I always feel like people don't question um, the information they're being fed. And you got to remember something: these politicians, they want to appeal to our emotions. They want to stoke our fears. They want to appeal to our dreams and promise all these things, and they speak in half truths, and it's Democrats, it's Republicans, it's independents. They're salesmen. They're all salesmen. And I believe that. I truly believe that, because there's a lot at stake for them, and we have to question what they're saying to us. We have to verify whether what they're saying is true. I don't disagree that China has done some things that aren't fair in regards to trade with us, especially in terms of manipulating their own currency. Yeah, that's true. And yeah, Keith Manor says they produce the consoles in China to exploit Chinese workers with low pay, no benefits, or poor working conditions. Yeah, that's true. There's a pollution problem in that country, but yeah, those are things that are true. But those aren't things that are going to be addressed in a trade war. Um, Harvard Lamp says the steel industry is dying in the UK because of China. I'm not sure why that's. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that. The industry, the steel industry dying in the UK. If you care to enlighten us in live chat, that'd be great. I'm not aware of that. Um, Wait, Fortier, are you starting? You're starting a separate channel called Nautical? Oh boy, this is going to be interesting. I hope the Nautical YouTube channel Forte is just you debating slow mo backslap every week, because slow mo wins debates all the time. See, Black Rider says Trump never had a business he couldn't bankrupt. That's funny. That's funny. All right, so I do want to go to the headline here. So this is per Game Industry Biz. U.S. considers 25% tariff on game consoles. Trump administration proposes tax on all essential products coming from China. And there's a big misconception in front of I think by Trump supporters, and I only say this because of the conversations, the asinine conversations, comments that were being made to me on Twitter by some of the Trump supporters are saying, "Oh no, these are American companies. So because they're American companies and they're making American products in China, um, they're not going to face tariffs." No, they're manufactured in China, they're imported from China, and they're going to be 25% tariffs on all products coming from China. Now, um, now, this is per the Office of the United States Trade Representative, as a proposed tariff of up to 25% on a wide array of products from China. The U.S. has been raising tariffs on Chinese goods in waves since the middle of last year. So this trade war has been going on since last year. The newly proposed product list is the largest yet, representing an approximate annual trade value of 300 billion. Tariffs on a 200 billion dollar group of goods were raised earlier this month. The United States Trade Representative says it covers essentially all products not already covered by previous tariffs, apart from a few select categories like pharmaceuticals, medical goods, and rare earth minerals. Imagine if pharmaceuticals and medical goods start being tariffed, the ripple effect, the impact that can have on the healthcare system, if you take in consideration how expensive healthcare is in this country. Now, according to this article, the affected list of product categories includes video game consoles, game controllers, and coin-up arcade games. Now, I also mentioned that it isn't just the video game industry that could potentially feel the impact of the tariffs. Um, According to the Game Manufacturers Association, it says the tariffs could dramatically reduce uh, the tariffs would raise the cost of virtually everything needed to produce more tabletop games. This is per John Stacy. He's executive director of the Game Manufacturers Association. He also says that tariffs could dramatically reduce the number of new games in production in the United States. Even worse, they could cost workers and business owners their livelihood. So this is again, John Stacy is executive director of GAMA, which is the Game Manufacturers Association for tabletop the tabletop gaming industry. If you're not familiar with tabletop gaming, think easiest thing to think of is Dungeons and Dragons and rolling of the dice and whatnot, and card games. So, Stacy says that the hobby games now produce as much as 5 billion annually for the U.S. economy, but that number is now at risk of Trump's proposed tariffs. Stacy says they're very concerned about it. There's been a lot of conversation among our members in the last 2 days about the impact of this and how it's going. It's potentially a 25% increase in the cost of importing products from China. We pass those increases on to the retailers. We'd pass them on to the consumer. So here we go. So we have somebody. We have this gentleman, John Stacy, who's the executive director of a nonprofit organization, their lobbyist organization, Gamma, and he's saying, "Hey, you know what? The industry will pass the tariffs on to the retailers. The retailers will pass on the cost to the consumers." So who's winning from this? Who's winning from this? We're getting screwed. The consumers are getting screwed. And as gamers, I'm surprised that there's some gamers out there. Hey, what's up, Monkey Punch? Surprised there's some gamers out there that are a little more outraged about this. Why would you want more expensive game consoles? The British industry is struggling because of competition from China, which sells its steel more cheaply. Yeah, I mean that's but that's. I mean, I don't, I don't know what to say about that. I think that's unfortunate for the British steel industry. But I can't comment. Sleepy Gum says John Stacy sounds like a decent action movie name. He does. Um, yeah, I can't comment on the steel industry. That's and I appreciate you sharing that, Harvinder. But I can't comment on that. It's interesting. Like, not all the economic problems or things that the U.S. faces all relate to China. I think it's easy to paint them as the evil empire and parlay or blame all of our economic problems on them. Although the U.S. economy is doing well, but a trade war is something that could actually impact consumer confidence, especially if we start seeing an increase in the price for consumer goods. Now you don't want that to happen in the U.S. economy. Why don't you want that to happen to the U.S. economy? Because the U.S. economy is primarily a consumer-driven economy. We don't manufacture a lot. We consume more than we manufacture, and that's what drives the U.S. economy. So anyhow, Z Black Rider says gaming is a minor player. China's yet to respond over who Huawei. Huawei is the those who don't know is the telecommunication companies that manufacture cell phones, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Z Black Rider. I haven't read too much on the situation. I believe their phones are have been blacklisted here in the U.S. If someone in the live chat can confirm, verify that for me. I'm assuming that's the. I think that's what's happening. I haven't read a lot about the Huawei situation. Um, uh, Glacian says they're not American companies; they are international companies. They won't. This won't bring jobs from across seas. Glacian, that's actually an interesting and actually I think a keen observation. From you because I think we look at companies like Apple and Microsoft, and yeah, we would look at them as American companies because they were founded here in the United States. But truth be told, um, they're much bigger than just being American companies now. They're international companies, and they are some of the largest international companies in the world. And you hit the nail on the head, Glacier. I mean, um, you know, Microsoft, Google, IBM, all these companies are international companies, and I think that's a great point. Z Black Rice is not just phones. Huawei is in every part of telecommunications. Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought there was some Z Black Rider. Correct me if I'm mistaken. I think part of the blacklisting was some concerns, security concerns of China. We know that China has stolen patents from us. Um, which again I don't agree with. I think those are things that need to be addressed. I just don't agree with the way they are being currently addressed. Slomo says more than just their phones. Huawei makes a lot of products, and if they are compromised, and a lot of industries are affected. Um, yeah, I mean that's Slomo. Do you know specifically what industries would be affected um, by this? I'd be interested. Again, I don't know the entire story on Huawei. I just know that they've been blacklisted. I know China hasn't responded to that yet. Um, but I thought that and I could be incorrect here. My assumption was that part of the blacklisting was concerns of security concerns. Um, China having the ability to spy on UX activity, infrastructure, stuff like that. So that's my that's the extent of what I know, which is not a lot in this case with Hawaii. So um, Z Black Rider says security concerns have never been uh, substantiated. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's like I said, that might be true. Maybe they haven't been those security concerns haven't been confirmed. So so yeah, this is interesting. So again, this could have a negative impact on the how much we pay for current consoles and perhaps next generation game consoles. And let's not forget game controllers. We know how Microsoft likes to put out those game controllers, folks. If you are a fan of the new game controllers that Microsoft puts out, you may be paying more for these. Think about that. Do you want to pay more money? I know I don't. Anyhow, the United States Trade Representative has invited comments from the public in regards to the proposed tariffs and a set deadline of June 17th for those to be considered before action is taken. So, my understanding is that the Electronics Arts Association or oh shit, I can't remember the name of the association for the video game industry. Give me a sec here, I'll look it up. It's at the tip of my tongue. The Entertainment Software Association. I believe they, from what I've heard from someone, who works in the industry that they are keeping an eye on this and maybe lobbying against this at some point soon. So Chief Tony says, "Not me. I'll be playing my N64 and SNES games." Hey, thank God for backwards compatibility, right? Couldn't come at a better time. So, um, Z Black Rider says, "I'll export you Xboxes from Canada. I can hide them in bales of marijuana." Oh my goodness! I just had this scenario running through my head of Xboxes coming in unmarked trucks across the Canadian border. Oh my goodness, that's too funny. Well, look, guys, as gamers, I think this is something that we should keep an eye on. I think that anytime there's a situation that can have a negative impact, and it will. I mean, this is going to impact our wallets, guys. I mean, we look, all of us bust our asses off to make money, to put food on our tables, to provide for our families. Anytime, we see a cost passed on to the consumer that in reality doesn't need to this doesn't need to happen. This is something that doesn't have to happen, but it is, um, because who we elected to office. Technically, we didn't because the electoral college did, and he really didn't win the popular vote. So anyhow, that's another conversation. But I think this is something that gamers um, should be concerned about, and I think it's okay to speak out against this, even if you're a Trump supporter. I don't see or understand why folks who are Trump supporters that are gamers are okay with this. It's going to have a negative impact on your industry, potentially maybe cost jobs. Why you would want something like that? Why you'd want the hobby you love to be hurt, and your fellow gaming brethren to be hurt by this is beyond me for the sake of political beliefs or ideologies. I just don't understand that and never will. But on that note, that is my rant. That is my Trump wants a 25% tax on video consoles. I gotta edit that, video game consoles. But that's my rant, guys. So want to thank everyone for just popping in real quick and hanging out with me. Appreciate it. And hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Big shout out to my panel members who are in the live chat, Mr. Gaming Forte and Slow-Mo Backslap. So, gentlemen, always a pleasure seeing you guys, and everyone else in the live chat. Great seeing you guys. Really appreciate the support. We have some exciting episodes of BRAP coming up. We're actually going to have, prior to E3, we're going to have Lord Cognito from the Iron Lords come on. He flies out on June the 7th, I believe, to Los Angeles. And so we are going to have him on. I'm sorry, it's June 6th. I apologize. June 6th. Lord Cognito flies out to Los Angeles. We're going to have him in. We're going to have him on as a guest May 5th. And we're working on getting Matt Piscatella on. Matt Piscatella is the U.S. video game industry analyst for NPD. He's going to be potentially joining us, I believe, the week after E3 wraps up to talk about all things video game related and E3 as well, kind of give his thoughts on E3. So, Gaming Forte says, wait a minute, Enrique, did you basically say Slow Mo never loses an argument? Yes, I said that, Forte. Slow Mo never loses an argument. Doesn't happen, my friend. So, on that note, guys, I am out. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe if you haven't done so already. And unless some other breaking news happens, have a great weekend. Happy Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Peace.